Hello and welcome to a overview and review of the latest expansion to hit the Kingdom Death Simulator. This is the Vignette of Death for the Killenium Butcher. It's the second in the Vignette of Death series, previous one being the White Giggle line. This one takes the Butcher and adds a variant to it while also providing a standalone vignette experience that you can play. I think it's in particular very well suited for introducing Kingdom Death to players who have a fair amount of experience in board games already, because it does a better job than the prologue showdown of demonstrating how rich and textured Kingdom Death can become with a variety of abilities. You know, the prologue, the first story, all of that is a fantastic tutorial for the game, but vignettes are a good showcase for what the game can actually provide without really giving away too much of the actual game's main content. I've played with this one a fair bit already, had it in physical for a fairly long time, written a review about that on the Patreon. You can go into the link in the description to the Patreon, you can click on the collections, the review tab, you'll find it there. They're all reviews are publicly available for everyone. I don't put those behind any requirement for patronage. I do appreciate patronage a great deal. Kingdom Death is an expensive game to create content for, and it's only looking like it's going to get more expensive in the immediate future. Anyway, the short version of this is, well, actually it went, I sent an email to Adam, and Adam posted with my permission that email, or part of that email, onto one of the Kickstarter updates, and my opinion hasn't changed. A Vignette of Death is pretty much a top tier purchase for anyone who's played the core game a fair amount and is very familiar with the Butcher. It is one of the best new expansions, full stop, out of anything. And it's one of the best new creations. If I was going to point at the things I think are the most engaging, well constructed and exciting parts of this second generation of content, that's stuff like from the Gambler's Chest onwards, some of it a little bit before, but it would be the Vignette of Death for the Killenium Butcher, the Crimson Crocodile, Seed Patterns, Indomitable Resources, Ark Survivors as a whole. And then the Black Knight. That's like my absolute top picks of the best stuff we've had. But this one is really, for me at least, I think it's something special, and I'll have a couple of little sort of stories to talk about along the way. But before we get into that, let's get the interface back on and we'll unbox this, and then I'll get it all laid out. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here's everything laid out. I've kept some of it face down to avoid providing any sub-boilers. I will turn things up a bit further in when we go into a more spoiler heavy dive into all of the bits and pieces, but for now, just to overview everything, for those of you who want general comments and want to explore the content by yourself, you get 4 gear grids. In the physical copy, these have the cards printed on them. Here on the simulator, they get populated when you start the showdown through setup here. Hopefully we'll run it and I'm sure it'll be fine. We've got a really nicely illustrated booklet that covers all of the rules for playing the Vignette, for playing the Killenium Butcher in your normal campaigns, and also covering the consequences and ending of the Vignette. This one has branching paths with different endings that is determined entirely by who survives out of these 5 characters, what combination of them. That's really fun and interesting, and there's some strain locks linked to some of the endings, giving you a little bonus, because like I said, I think this is a really great way to teach the game to other players, It's got some characters you can very quickly get a handle on. We'll have a look at those in a moment. These guys here, and frankly, an already all-time iconic monster with the Killenium Butcher. There's more unlocks here. There's a few modifiers for the Killenium Butcher. With this is all used by that. This is gear that can be unlocked. This is a new specialization that can be unlocked. And then we've got, and this is really nice, is one of the so some of the survivors have specific pieces of armor sets. Specifically, Red's got the Vagabond armor, and Hollow has a full set of Dragon armor. Which is really nice that they've given us the cards. The Gorman armor was missing from the vignette, the White Gigaline vignette, and that was a bit of a shame. I'm really happy about this. I do greatly appreciate being able to get more copies of these kind of cards, because sometimes you have more than one person wearing the same armor set. So yeah. We're going to get now a little bit more into the vignette without spoiling anything particularly, except to kind of talk about the characters in this. So we've got Red, who those of you who are familiar will recognise this as Aya, the survivor. That's the survivor from the back of the rulebook, the core rulebook. A continuous survivor who has a lot of really she uses a lot of different weaponry. She functions in this showdown as the group's main primary damage dealer. We then got Brave, who hails, he's got a little story that you can read. He hails from a place where there are crimson crocodiles, hence the base having the blood pool on there and this little reed as part of his art. He's got a unique set of gear, and he functions very much around being encouraged and works as the group's off-tank, mixing a bit of defense and offense. Forgot here is the physical model didn't have the glasses printed on there, but you can see them here on this version. She is part of the Twilight Order, as you see, knowledge of the Forbidden Library, and she plays as the group's support. She's, I think, the most complex of the four characters and the most interesting. And if you're demoing and you are playing one of the characters, I would recommend taking Forgot unless there's somebody who really wants to play the support, because she does have probably the most complex role. And then there's Fast, one of my favourite characters in the game. This is Hollow, aka the Dragon Sacrifice. So she's a empty suit of animated dragon armor, hence to having the card. And she's aching emptiness yearning for something more. She functions as the party's main tank. She's got a very nice way of operating that I really like. That's a bit more engaging than just standing there and blocking every turn. So very, very enjoyable. Good to play. And then we have the Killenium Butcher. This model is absolutely fantastic. This is a recreation of the Butcher splash panel on the Showdown page. It's really great in physical. These two survivors, they're optional whether you want to put them on the base or not. I chose not to, just to keep it more atmospheric for myself, because I think these two people standing on his shoulders wandering around all the time feels a bit weird, but this is all fantastic. Like, this is such a great little sculpt with details such as this little vermin here crawling inside this head, and all of these flayed faces of these many survivors as the Butcher attaches its latest trophy. Yeah, so another really cool thing that elevates this beyond the norm for a Kingdom Death expansion, especially for the vignette, is something that I wrote to Adam about, and he confirmed it was a sort of a subconscious accident, and that is, you could give all of these characters an entirely different set of names. I don't mean their real names underneath the pseudonyms that they have here, but I mean that, over here, we've got Dorothy and her red slippers, and here we've got Brave the Cowardly Lion. Here we have Forgot the Scarecrow without a brain or without memories, and here we've got the Tin Woman who's missing a heart because she's just got a hole in the middle of her chest. And when I asked about this, Adam said and confirmed that he did the original writing and setup on this, and he passed everything across to Anna for additional flourishes and smoothing out and narrative and you know, her portion of everything. And after she'd done that, she was wandering around humming the "If I Only Had a Heart, If I Only Had a Brain" song from the Wizard of Oz movie. And Adam asked why that was, and she said, well, you know, it's because, I'm paraphrasing, it's because these are all based on the Wizard of Oz characters. There's the four are heading off to see the wizard, or the star, to grant their wishes here. And that's when he realised subconsciously that's what he'd done, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I wrote as much. I said that I thought it was just brilliant to lean on these tropes, have these characters, have this link, and this sort of elevated things to another level, because there's a whole load of subtext to read into it beyond the actual stories of these characters as they unfold through the vignette in the book and on the showdown board. And I hope that we see more of this in the future with the vignettes. I pitched to him at the time the idea of taking the king and having a queen variant, the queen or the red queen, and having Alice and the Mad Hatter as like, you know, rough frameworks for another group. Obviously, if that ever happened, if we ever did a king variant, we're very far away from that. All the core monsters need to get done first, or most of the core monsters need to get done first. And I'm kind of excited to see what they do, because each time we just see more and more improvements. This vignette is, I think, like a magnitude better than the White Giggle-Lion one. I'm going to have to go into the specific details in the spoiler section to talk about why I think that is. But for those of you who want a non-spoiler version, this is it. This is where we stop. I've shown everything that's in here without spoiling anything other than the initial setup and a little bit of the narrative. And for the rest of it, I'm now going to need to go into some specific details and spoilers and talk about how this functions. So for everyone else now, we're going into spoiler town. For the rest of you, honestly, just get this. Seriously. If you have the simulator, just buy it. It's not expensive at all. Get it. Just get it. And get it in physical as well. This is very easy to fit into your games because it's an upgrade to the Butcher. It doesn't fully replace the Butcher. It does partially replace it, but again, you know, you don't have to always include the Killenium Butcher if you just want the normal Butcher for the whole time. So it's just really good. It is in the top tier of expansions, and it gets a huge recommendation for me. So for everyone else, it's time for us to take a little bit more of a dive into everything so we can talk about the specifics. And we're going to start with how the Butcher is altered. Now, that is done through a set of functions. Specifically, let's just move this over here for a bit later, along with this and this. Come on, you. And these. Right, so we have, first of all, the Butcher is a lot bigger. This is a 3x3 monster, so that does have a fair impact. It's got a bigger blind spot. All of its reactions are now hitting a larger area on the board. It can kind of reach more spaces as well, just by virtue of occupying more size. But on top of that, it has a few extra changes. So that is for you. The big change is it has this, which is an extra AI card that is a bit thematic in respect to how it works. It has an interaction with Brave, who is quixotic, because this fool gave his actual name. Everyone else is using pseudonyms to avoid this event here. This is a really cool and kind of scary thing. I love it. It reminds me of the Phoenix that also does a little bit of this kind of stuff, but you get rid of your name, and if you get hit by this a second time, you're done for. And if you're Quixotic, then you're just done regardless. So it's fun to add this to the Butcher deck and have it turn up. Just good stuff. But the real big stuff is a new trap card, a new traits, pair of them, a new basic action and reference card. So we'll start over here. We can see the Killenium Butcher is only encountered at level 2 and level 3. Level 1 will always be the normal Butcher in a campaign. We can also see, if we look at these, it doesn't have fast target, it doesn't have trophies, it doesn't have Berserker at the level 2. It does get Berserker back at level 3. And instead it's got self-aware and scorn, and it has higher accuracy than normal with this extra accuracy. This is so like significant how this changes that I hopefully can do it justice when I talk about it. So first of all, very simple menace, but stronger than the previous one. It will brain damage every monster in its facing, and it will face the highest number of survivors. The basic action also is very, very different, and we'll come back to this after we talk about these. So first of all, we've got self-aware. This is like a new version of Berserk, and instead of it drawing 2 AI every turn, it draws an AI, and if it's the basic card, it'll discard that one, and then it'll draw the next one. So that increases the chances of it playing advanced actions. And also at the end of each turn, it performs its basic action. So it's still doing 2 things a turn, but one of them is more likely to be an advanced action. That includes this true name and some other really scary things. And the second one is the normal basic action, which leans heavily into how the mechanic works. Then we've also got Scorn, which the Killenium Butcher devours the intensity of passion from the very air. As it grows stronger, survivors suffer these chilling effects. For each +1 damage token the monster has, we got some effects. So this is similar to trophies, dreaded trophies, but it doesn't need survivors to die for it to start scaling up. It needs to get damage tokens, and we're going to see how it gets those because it's very good at doing it. This here sits on this board. It's not auto-locking yet. I'm sure they'll fix that in the future. And this is where you put these tokens on here, which are gained, and they become +1 damage tokens, and they do these effects. So the first one is chill, so everyone has to chill out. I can't get this to feel like it's landing flat. It's not. That's okay. All right. Again, I'm sure that'll get fixed. It's just not quite. No, whatever. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. It's not gonna land flat. Okay. Yeah. So first one will cause -1 accuracy to all survivors. Second one will cause -1 movement. Still with this one occurring, and then 3+ it'll freeze, which is really bad because it will cut you down to either a movement or an activation. And the only way to ignore that is to be frenzied. And that's where the other kind of scary part of this occurs, because the basic action targets a frenzied survivor in range, or otherwise the closest survivor in field of view. It's 2 speed, 4+ accuracy. Remember, the Butcher has a +1 accuracy token minimum at level 1. It's got level 2. Sorry, it's got +2 at level 3. And if you're frenzied after it hits you, it will devour your rage. You're no longer frenzied, and it takes all the attribute tokens gained from frenzy, and it turns the +1 strength into +1 damage. This means that its speed increases, and its damage increases, and the effect of Scorn increase as well. So being frenzied is an incredible double-edged sword to deal with within this, and survivors are going to ebb and flow up into being frenzied and then back down, and you're very much trying to manage and ensure that the Butcher doesn't hit frenzied targets with this basic action, which can be quite challenging at times. But the other trick here is Blast Chill. So the Killenium Butcher's coursing rage causes a sharp drop in temperature. The cold is shocking. All survivors in 3 spaces. The monsters suffer bash unless they're wearing fur gear. So that means leather and then armor sets like Screaming Antelope and White Lion are going to be able to ignore the bash, but otherwise people are going to suffer it. That also makes things like the fur capes and similar a lot better than they were in the past. An ominous chill rises from the ground. All knockdown survivors are frozen with fear. They suffer monster level brain damage and cannot stand for any reason until the end of the next monster turn, and then we perform basic action targeting the attacker. It's worth remembering, we still have infectious lunacy occurring. So brain damage is increasing infectious lunacy tokens, which is then triggering frenzy, which is fueling the Killenium Butcher. And I really can't express to you how much these 5 cards, especially these 4, completely change the experience of fighting the Butcher. Because fast targets, which has you reshuffling all the time, it's like a double-edged sword. It's not entirely a punishment, it's actually a benefit as well. While it's harder to sculpt and manage your way through the hit location deck, it's also less likely you're going to hit the trap because it's constantly refreshing itself. This isn't happening here. Suddenly now we're facing a normal hit location deck with the trap being an inevitability, and only you can really deal with it if you happen to have ways of cancelling the trap to trigger a reshuffle. Spear, scythe, stuff like that. It's honestly a masterclass in how less can be more. It feels like an entirely new monster, but it's mostly constituted of the older parts, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. In fact, one of the few criticisms I have when it comes to this is in physical, we don't get a separate divider for the Killenium Butcher cards. We don't get a separate divider for the Vignette cards. That's really the only thing I wish we had more of. So this in itself is amazing, and once you have the Butcher unlocked to fight in your campaign, then you're going to fight the normal one at level 1, and then you're going to fight the Killenium one at level 2 and level 3. So obviously if you wanted to, you could move the Killenium Butcher out and just experience the normal Butcher, but I'll be honest, I've not wanted to go back to the traditional Butcher. This one is way more challenging. It's fun that I get both in here, and this package on the level 3 is quite the delight to try and navigate without suffering too much damage. Like, this is a real turbocharging 22 wounds plus 2 accuracy, extra evasion. It is a heck of a monster, and it is always a challenge and fun to fight. Over here, we've got the various unlocks. So, to start with, let's just have a little look at the strains. We've got 2. We have to get Brave's Ending for this one, which will permanently add this piece of terrain, the Time-Worn statue, to the showdown. What that actually represents, you'll have to play through the story to find out. Let's put that back away. Final Lantern trophies is occurred by the Butcher winning, which, that's nice, that's cool. A little something unlocked for failing to complete the vignette. It's going to happen at times. Dice don't land in your favour, or you're trying to explore and understand the mechanics. Cool. That means that the Killenium Butcher's unlocked, and on top of unlocking it, we now also get this strange resource, which will be part of the rewards for fighting the Killenium Butcher, which has this. It's an organ, but also with this nice way to repair permanent injuries. The original Butcher has a little bit of that with dismembered limbs. This is a stronger version of that. It's super creepy. It's a really nice reward to get. I think it's fantastic. And the other bits as well, we've got the Killenium Cleavers. There's 2 of them. They're paired. They're like supercharged versions of the normal cleavers. We get these lanterns, which represent lanterns, trophies of the survivors who, from the vignette. So this is the bad ending. The Butcher successfully wins and takes all of the survivors' faces as trophies, and then those trophies can be found when fighting the Killenium Butcher in the future. And each one of them, it has a unique effect linked to an echo of the Vignette Survivor. We'll see those when we get to looking at the showdown itself, but see, encourage, again, strength token, couple of nice affinities, -1 evasion here, but this is a heck of a really neat ability that leans well into what Gorman armor is trying to do. This has made a huge difference to how Gorman armor has functioned for me. Forgot's Light has this really cool little place the top card of the HL discard pile on top of the hit location deck. You can use it 3 times. You have to be insane to activate it. That's a unique and fun and nicely capped. I like powerful abilities that are limited in how often you can use them. So this rewards you for being strategic with which cards you put back on top. And Red's Light helps you gain extra weapon efficiency faster, which is always welcome, always useful, and a great reflection of what Aya, aka Red, is like. So, finally, Killenium Cleavers. They're paired. Take this a fair time to get these. And the big thing is also you have Cleaver Mastery. These are not the only cleavers that crop up. So, the Killenium Cleavers themselves, 2, 4+5, weapon melee, axe, cleaver, other. So 2 weapon types, can use them as an axe or use them as a cleaver. Paired, irreplaceable, so you can run both of them together. And if the survivor who's using them dies, they're lost, and you gain +4 strength when attacking with this. You are frenzied, if you are frenzied. So this will scale up a bit with extra frenzy. We also have, before I put final comments on the cleaver, we have this new weapon proficiency. I always like to see weapon proficiencies. Novel ones can only be gained under certain specific circumstances. So this is linked to the Killenium Butcher Showdown, which we'll look at in a moment and look at the book. You can use Cleaver Proficiency while frenzied, so that ties nicely together with everything else. When attacking with a Cleaver, ignore 1 wound reaction during that attack. That's strong without being overpowered, so it's great for a specialization ability. The Mastery, at the end of your attack with a Cleaver, you suffer the Frenzy Brain Trauma, so that'll get you frenzied fast. When attacking the Cleaver with a Cleaver, if you draw a trap, discard 5 of the hit locations to cancel the trap and shuffle it back into the deck. Really, really, really cool. Rewarding you for attacking with a ton of speed and giving you trap protection on the way. This also has synergies with the Imitation Butcher armor, which comes in the Gambler's Chest. About the only real negative I have to say on these is it's very hard to get the paired in a reasonable length of time. The level 3 Killenium Butcher turns up very late, and so running them together is difficult, and the strength on these falls off very, very quickly. Even though we have a little bit of extra strength gain by being frenzied, they don't feel great in the late game. So I would have liked to see their base strength have been 7 maybe, rather than 5. But with the right survivor and or the right armor set, they can do some very cool and powerful things, and they do scale up by frenzying you over time with this, stacking it up and becoming more and more and more frenzied. The only real genuine thing I wish was that we also got normal cleavers in this that had the cleaver weapon type, because it's not a type on the original Butcher's Cleavers, and I wish that these could be paired with the Butcher's Cleavers. Wish you had paired with Butcher's Cleaver, just to allow us to get going on the paired with a Killenium Cleaver and a normal Butcher's Cleaver. So we can do that after beating the level 1 Butcher and then the level 2 Killenium Butcher. Not a big deal, you could just house rule that if it's the kind of thing you like, but officially you can't, and that's about one of the few things I think could have just been a tiny bit better for variety and helping the old content link together with the new. The Timeworn statue is it's just another effectively pillar with a few extra little bits of like narrative to it and a small bit of extra thing. This exploding is usually not something I want to happen. It's generally a hindrance, this, which is fine. Having terrain that is a bit awkward and difficult and possibly dangerous is like fun to navigate. I wish maybe this was triggered on like an 8+ or a 7+. But it can, you sometimes near the end of a showdown, you might just go for getting the monster to crash through this to get the damage to try and get the understanding if you're able to tank it up. But on the whole, it becomes something you try and avoid, much like the Lonely Tree with its monster fruit. So it's interesting, but don't expect it to change your showdowns massively in the way that some of the other terrain can. Okay, so before we do the little setup, let's take a quick flick through the book. So apart from these pages falling down, can we just fix that, or is it just going to happen? Let's see. Hopefully it doesn't. There we go. Yeah, we are fixed. Okay, it was just a temporary glitch. So this has, it's nicely laid out. It covers all the rules for how you play this, how you add the campaign, how everything works. It's got a story, which I'm not going to read through here. That covers the vignette, covers all of this, special events that occur, and then we have here the showdown page for the, sorry about that, there we go, for the Killenium Butcher when playing the campaign. You can see setup is very similar, with just the changes happening to the Butcher. And the victory always gives 200 XP and gives either possible weapon proficiency level or monster level cleaver proficiency levels, and you can select cleaver regardless of age. This is how you get cleaver. And a interesting thematic punishment: no heat, -4 population. You should have heat in most campaigns, and as we can see down here, you get the Killenium Cleaver, 1d5 Broken Lanterns, and then against level 3 you always get the Forsaken Mask. You get 5 Broken Lanterns, which you'll put into settlement storage, and 1 Cold Living Flesh, and of course the random trophy lantern rare gear. So this is what I was talking about with the Killenium Cleavers. Little tricky to get both of them working. Level 3 Butcher is very late in the timeline, which is why I'd have liked the normal Butcher's Cleaver, which you can sometimes get against the level 1 to work impaired with the Killenium Cleaver. It is still very fun and exciting. So last of all, let us just set up the showdown. We'll do the vignette, and we can just take a brief look at the vignette survivors, their gear grids, and all of the interesting rules that they have on those. Okay, here we are. So you can see the survivors start split apart like this, and popular reset gear grid cards. There we, oh, it's a little bit off. That's fine. All right. Okay. Again, these things just kind of, they come out. They've just come out, so these kind of glitches, don't worry too much about it. This will all get fixed. And it's not like this in the physical version anyway. It's absolutely fine. Okay, and reset gear grid cards. Whoop! I don't know why it dragged me over there. Okay, let's get them all reset. So yeah, all right. I'm not gonna put all of them into proper places. That's fine. Okay, so you can see here, Brave has almost an entirely unique set of gear. He's got this cobbled set that is very cool. This new Brave Sword and Brave Shield. He's got the Heart of a Hero, which just gives him heart tokens whenever he gets encouraged, and he can be encouraged while standing, and gradually he scales up with more and more heart tokens. He has Life Elixir to kind of help him out a little bit early on, not died to the first severe injury, which is nice. He's of course the bandage user, and this Quixotic we talked about earlier. It's populated his sheet in advance, which is nice quality of life, although maybe that there should be filled in. You can see they have Dodge, Encourage, and Dash for the showdown. He's got, whoops, sorry, a big pile of luck. Then over here we've got Forgot. As I said, Forgot is one of the coolest of all of the like new designs for the showdown. This is really sweet. So first of all, nice bit of this is world building. This doesn't have any use beyond providing the affinities for the center of the grid, but this is part of why she's forgetting, and she can't remember because she's like carrying around gloom cream. We can see what her actual name is here, which is Laurie the librarian, the archivist. The biggest heart of what she does rotates around these two. So Locking Tome has this special thing that interacts with the showdown with the Butcher, and has some extra bits and pieces I'm not going to spoil here. And also Memento Blade gives her the ability to manipulate the hit location deck by discarding non-trap hit locations, which that's a mechanic I always really like. It rewards skill and it gives you difficult questions to answer, which I really appreciate. And then Laurie's Lens, which is amazing. At the start of your act, you place the top card of the hit location discard on top of the monster's deck, which means when she starts her act, she always knows what she's going to be attacking with her Memento Blade. This is such a proactive and enjoyable way of playing a support that I think is delightful and fun, although it is a little complicated. You need to be smart with when you trigger memory lock. If we go over here now, we've got Red. So as I said, Red is Aya. Red has her survival spear. Very happy to see that make an appearance. It's a big part of her scaling, so each time she performs a survival action, this will gain +1 strength, or via a +1 strength token. That's really cool. She's got monster meat to help stock up her survival further. She's actually got the white dragon gauntlets giving her a crazy amount of armor in the arms, which is really fun. All keywords for Proteon, for the Protean charm. So this has like all weapon keywords that can sometimes be relevant. More about world building though, and having this ignore for severe injury you suffer each showdown is pretty fantastic. But yeah, sorry, let's get over here. The real big trick is the survival spear. She's a spear specialist, so she can potentially hit the trap and get a reshuffle, but also she has all the benefits of sword mastery and sword specialization on top of what she's got going on here with the survival spear. So that's really nice. This is vagabond armor. It's great, really, really good. And I like also this. This is I hope this is what the RAM Photo 4 is going to be in the Nightmare RAM expansion, because it would just be cool to see it in advance here and then get to craft it later. This is a unusual, unique, and enjoyable little piece of design. The monster basically, everyone's more accurate if you stand in the monster's facing, which I really like. And I also appreciate that here it indicates that Aya's settlement is romantic, so you know when you encourage Red, she's going to gain a survival, so effectively you can move survival off others onto her, and then she will perform survival actions, which is very, very cool. Finally, my favourite is Hollow. I really love Hollow. As I mentioned before, I'm pretty sure she is the dragon sacrifice based on this background story, based on this model sculpt and the pose. She's standing in the same pose as the dragon sacrifice stands, this same kind of slightly turned, sort of unsure kind of footing. Hollow is precious, and if anything happened to her, I would have to set fire to the whole world. She has dragon armor. She has the green ring, meaning when she's attacked while she is the monster controller, so she regenerates armor points via that. She also, first time you wound with the sacrificial fang, her dagger, she will add 1 to each hit location as well, giving her the ability to stock up on survival. She doesn't have Dragon Mantle active, doesn't matter because she gets to start with a fixed amount of survival, but she does get the Dragon Belt, which means that's actually really useful for her role. I need to go and grab, here it is, Empty Vessel, because this should have been over here, but that's fine. This is the other thing, so she can't gain bleeding, really useful against the Butcher. She gets to, if she takes a severe injury, she gets to ignore it, instead suffers 1 armor point to all hit locations, and if she has no armor point, she ceases to exist, because she's just the armor. She's inhabiting the suit of armor, she is the armor. I love this build. I love how this plays. It's also really nice to for players who want something a bit more straightforward to play because they're not really sure. They just need to attack consistently, understand their abilities, and the only real major unusual decision point they have beyond their survival actions is deciding when to use this bird bread. Ultimately, superb. Just a cracking character who I really like. I like the little bit extra build in it hints towards everything else. Again, they're physically printed on, so they're actually in their spots like this when you get them. I know they will fix this very quickly once they realise this is what's happening. Same with this, you know, don't worry about it. It'll all get sorted in the end, so nothing to sweat. That's kind of it, yeah. So, as I said before, just a phenomenal expansion. The few small early teething issues on the simulator here, they will be resolved, I imagine, in the next update. This is like one of the must-haves in my opinion. This is just something you should get, absolutely. I thought the white giggle iron is reasonably nice to get, although not as good as buying a new Node 1 monster. This is better than the Manhunter. If you were looking to change your Node 1 Nemesis monster experiences, this is just absolutely fantastic in every single aspect. Storytelling, mechanics, miniature sculpts, characters, vignette, integration into the core game and other game experiences, repeated play. This has it all. This is, like I said, alongside the Black Knight and Crimson Crocodile, this is one of the 3 best monsters in the entire game for me, in my opinion, and it gets a unreserved, total, hard recommendation to get this in physical, to get this on the simulator. However you can get it, get it. It is great. Okay, and that's it. I'd like to thank my patrons for allowing me to be able to make these videos. Thank you to Adam for giving me access to the simulator, and thank you to everyone who watches. It's greatly appreciated, and we will be back next with the Dark Bestiary Chapter 4. It is recorded. I am just editing it now. Sorry about the delay. I lost my voice for 2 weeks after catching a fairly severe cold. So, you know, just these things happen. Hopefully we should get back to a more normal release schedule over the rest of 2025. All the fingers and thumbs crossed. Until then, goodbye.